Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een wa ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to this episode of Classical Readings. We're continuing today with the book by Ibn Taymiyyah entitled السياسة الشرعية في إصلاح الراعي والرعية, which means the politics of the Sharia for the reform of the ruler and the ruled. And Shaykh al-Islam based most of the book on two verses. One verse of Quran, he calls it the verse of the Umara, or the verse of the rulers, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands that all trust must be rendered to their rightful owners, and when you judge between the people, to do so with justice. This is directed to the rulers. And the second verse is the one which commands us to obey Allah and obey the Messenger and obey those in authority among us, and this is directed to other than the rulers or the citizens. And his book is based on this, and he talks a lot about ada'ul amana, the fulfilling of trusts. Then he gets to the role of wilayah, the role of leadership or of rulers. What is their purpose? And their purpose is to facilitate the practice of the deen and to prevent oppression among the people. These are the same two issues in the verse, ada' al-amana, which is the rendering of all the trusts, and al-hukm bil-adl, judging with justice, and these are the two functions of the ruler. In this section of the book, we're talking about public properties. Public properties in Islam fall into three categories. Al-ghanima, which is the spoils of war; as-sadaqah, which is the zakah, which according to the sunnah is collected from the people by those in charge and distributed; and the third one is al-fay', which is basically includes the kharaj and other categories, other public properties belonging to the Muslims at large. So currently we're talking about al-ghanima, or that which is acquired in time of war. This is one of the specialties given to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the Muslims are allowed to keep this, where some of the nations before us were not. They were required to incinerate whatever was acquired from the enemy in battle or in war. But in our religion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed it. As is said in Surah Al-Anfal itself, فَكُلُوا مِمَّا غَنِمْتُمْ حَلَالًا طَيِّبًا. You can consume of that which you took as ghanima, as spoils. It is halal and pure for you. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. And have fear of Allah. Verily, Allah is forgiving and merciful. In the two Sahihs, Muslim and Bukhari, Jabir ibn Abdullah narrates that the Prophet ﷺ said about these special things given only to Rasulullah, أُعْتِيتُ خَمْسًا لَمْ يُعْتَهُنَّ نَبِيًّا قَبْلِي. I have been given 5 things which have never been given to any prophet before me. نُصِرْتُ بِالرُّعْبِ مَسِيرَةَ شَهْرٍ. I get victory by fear in the heart of the enemy who's fighting us when I'm still a month's march away. وَجُعِلَتْ لِي الْأَرْضِ مَسْجِدًا وَطَهُورًا. And the entire earth has been made for me a place of prayer and a source of purification. Because we do not have to pray in a masjid, we can pray with few exceptions anywhere on the earth, and it is also tahur, that which purifies, as in the case of making tayammum with fresh dirt or sand. فَأَيُّمَا رَجُلٍ مِّنْ أُمَّتِي أَدْرَكَتْهُ الصَّلَاةِ فَلْيُصَلِّ. So any Muslim, wherever he is and it comes time for salah, he can go ahead and pray. وَأُحِلَّتْ لِي الْغَنَائِمِ. And the spoils of war have been made halal for me. وَلَمْ تَحِلِّ أَحَدٍ قَبْلِي. And they were not allowed for anyone before me. وَأُعْتِيتُ الشَّفَاعَةِ. And I have been given the intercession, meaning on Yawm al-Qiyamah. وَكَانَ النَّبِيُّ يَبْعَثُ إِلَى قَوْمِهِ خَاصَّةً. And every prophet was sent specifically to his own people. وَبُعِثْتُ إِلَى النَّاسِ عَامَّةً. Whereas Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was sent to all of the peoples of the world, all times, all places, and all times after him. And the Prophet ﷺ said, بُعِثْتُ بِالسَّيْفِ بَيْنَ يَدَيِ السَّاعَةِ. I have been sent with the sword shortly before the day of judgment. حَتَّى يُعْبَدَ اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may be worshipped alone without any partner. وَجُعِلَ رِزْقِي تَحْتَ ظِلِّ رُمْحِي. And my sustenance has been made in the shadow of my spear. وَجُعِلَ الظِّلُّ وَالصِّغَارُ عَلَى مَنْ خَالَفَ أَمْرِي. And humiliation and defeat has been made for those who go against my order. وَمَنْ تَشَبَّهَ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ. And whoever likes to resemble a people, he is one of them. The above was narrated by Ahmed on the authority of Ibn Umar, and Al-Bukhari also cited it. So the obligation with spoils is that they are divided into fifths, with 1/5 going to those mentioned by Allah in the Quran, and in other words, general expenditures, and 4/5 going to the soldiers. Umar ibn Khattab said, Al-Ghanimatu liman shahid al-waqa'a. The Ghanima belongs to those who were in attendance at the event, at the battle. The spoils are those for who attended the event, i.e. those present at the battle, whether they actually fought or not. It is obligatory to divide the spoils among them and not to give preferential treatment to anyone based on leadership, blood relation, or position, as the Prophet ﷺ and his righteous successors used to do. As reported in Sahih Bukhari, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu felt that he deserved more than others. The Prophet ﷺ said to him, هَلْ تُنْصَرُونَ وَتُرْزَقُونَ إِلَّا بِضُعَفَائِكُمْ. Did you think that you are getting victory and you are getting your sustenance except for the weak among you? So the Prophet ﷺ is obliterating the concept of the Jahiliyyah, that everything is due to the strong, the able-bodied, and the fighter. This was the basis of things in the Jahiliyyah, such that if someone died, that's how his inheritance went like that. So whoever in his extended family was the fighter, was the soldier, defended the family, and definitely it would be a man, would come and take the wealth of the one who deceased, and it was not distributed. His wives would be left with nothing, his children might be left with nothing, because everything in the Jahiliyyah was based on the strength. The Prophet ﷺ obliterated this and said, no, in fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps us based on the purity of the hearts, based on the piety, based on those worshipping Him and making dua to Him. And they may not be the ones at the front of the army. They may not be the ones with the dangerous sword. They may be, in fact, the du'afa, which is why He said to him, وَهَلْ تُنْصَرُونَ وَتُرْزَقُونَ إِلَّا بِدُعَفَائِكُمْ. Don't you realize that our victory and our success could be based on the ones you're overlooking, the weak among us? And in the Musnad of Imam Ahmed from Sa'd, قُلْتُ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ الرَّجُلُ يَكُونُ حَامِيَةُ الْقَوْمِ. A man may be the strongest fighter in his people, among his people. He's the one protecting them, he's the one fighting for them. يَكُونُ سَحْمُهُ وَسَحْمُ غَيْرِهِ سَوَاء. So how can his share be the same as somebody else's share? قَالَ ثَقُلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ. The Prophet ﷺ said, may your mother be bereaved of you. That's, by the way, an expression just of amazement. Ibn Sa'ad, he is Sa'ad, he called him son of the mother of Sa'ad. وَهَلْ تُرْزَقُونَ وَتُنْصَرُونَ إِلَّا بِضُعَفَائِكُمْ. He said the same thing. Do you receive victory and are you sustained for any other reason but the weak among you? In other words, in many cases, the weak, the unnoticed among you, may be the pious that are in fact making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and bringing about the aid of Allah for the believers. The Prophet ﷺ made different statements about the fuqara. In one statement, the Prophet ﷺ said, oh Allah, raise me up among the fuqara, raise me up among the poor people. In this case, he's praising the patience and the piety of some of the poor people. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said, كَادَ الْفَقْرُ أَنْ يَكُونَ كُفْرًا. Sometimes faqr is almost kufr, because this is the person not passing the test given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we saw earlier in this series. إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا. Some people, when they're tested with trials, they're impatient before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Spoils continue to be divided among those who fought through the Umayyad state and the Abbasi state when the Muslims were engaged with the Romans, the Turks, and the Berber. However, it is lawful for the Imam to give an increase to some who have excelled in their efforts, such as a vanguard who went out ahead of the army, or a man who scaled a fortification and opened the gate, or who overcame the vanguard of the enemy and brought about victory and the like. The Prophet ﷺ and his successor used to practice this. And he, ﷺ, used to give extra portions to small expeditionary groups, 1/4 after the 5th on the way forward and 1/3 after the 5th on the way back. This is what's narrated. This is called nafl, for extra effort and separate groups who went on separate missions. The scholars said that it is from the 5th, while others said it is from the 5th of the 5th, so that none of them should be favored over others in the spoils. In other words, the part that's separated for Bayt al-Mal, then there would not be any preference within the 4/5 of the ghanima. The correct position is that it is allowed from the 4/5, even though that entails favoring some over others for a valid benefit to Islam, but not for one's own desires or preferences or any other reason. The Prophet ﷺ did this on more than one occasion. This is the position of the scholars of Syria, Abu Hanifa, Ahmed, and others. Thus it has been said, extra can be given in the form of 1/4 or 1/3, with or without conditions, but more than that must be with the condition. For example, if he says, whoever directs me to their fortification will get such and such, or whoever brings me so and so will receive such and such, and the like. It has also been said that such increases can never be more than 1/3 and cannot be given except based on a condition. So favoring within the forces receiving the ghanima in general is not allowed, except with these exceptions we're talking about. There are two opinions expressed by Ahmed and others. Likewise, according to the correct opinion, it is allowed for the Imam to say that the soldiers can keep whatever they take, as has been narrated that the Prophet ﷺ did exactly that at the Battle of Badr. So no distribution, they're just allowed to take to keep what they take. This is if and only if he sees a benefit therein which outweighs the harm. There's a little more left on the discussion of ghanima and the other public properties in Islam. We'll take that up in the next episode of Classical Readings, insha'Allah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.